My name is Irene Bueno. I am a postdoctoral associate at the University of Minnesota at the vet school, and I conducted my whole PhD on antimicrobial resistance in the environment. And now I continue working in this topic as a postdoc. Well, the first thing I think we need to do is to define the environment, because sometimes environment is defined as the hospital environment or like the nursing home environment. And in this case, we are talking about the natural environment. So that would mean air, soil, water, even wildlife. So we are talking, that's just to put it into context. And as far as what do I foresee to see AMR growing or not in the environment, in general, AMR is a huge problem. And what I think is that AMR is One Health. It's a clear example of One Health. And that means that the environment plays a very important role in not only the dissemination of AMR, but also in the different pathways we need to think about from AMR in the environment back to humans and animals. And so in general, AMR is an emerging issue. And as far as the environment goes, we have a tighter relationship with the environment between animals and humans. And I think the more we have AMR in humans and animals, we will end up having more AMR in the environment as well. There are two things. One is the dissemination, either directly or indirectly, of AMR that is in the environment to other places in the environment. So directly, by direct, I mean it can be disseminated through water, through air, and indirect could be disseminated, for example, through animals, so wildlife. And there are plenty of examples of, for instance, wild birds that migrate long distances that could pick up AMR in one place and then distribute it or like disseminate it to other places, even in the world. And not only these direct or indirect dissemination pathways, but there is also a genetic component that is very important in the AMR. And that means that there are bacteria that live in the environment that may not cause any harm to humans or animals, but other bacteria that come in contact with these ones that are non-pathogenic could carry some genetic components that will allow AMR to emerge. So there is this kind of transfer between bacteria that are not harmful and bacteria that are harmful that could also help spread AMR in the environment. So to prevent the emergence of AMR as a society, there are general things that we can do that apply to infectious diseases in general and can also apply to AMR, as, for example, best practices of hygiene, washing our hands, decreasing the transmission between people and pets. But when it comes to thinking about AMR in the environment itself and that dimension, one critical thing is to, when we use antibiotics, and when we use antibiotics has to be also responsible, in a responsible way, is that if we have leftover medicine at home or for our pets, to dispose of those antibiotics in a proper way. So there are different things that we can do, and in Minnesota in particular, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has great information about this topic, and that's key when we don't want to put these antibiotics into the environment. The final part that I would like to mention is that we need to increase our research in this area of AMR in the environment, because all of the pathways of how AMR disseminates and how it might affect animals and human health at the end are still not well understood. So we need to increase our research and knowledge with the ultimate goal of having mitigation strategies that decrease AMR to go into the environment. One thing when we talk about the environment that is very important is that AMR happens naturally in the environment. So one critical piece is that when we are looking at the AMR we find, and there are a lot of studies done in the environment, like in wildlife, finding AMR, and that could be normal. That's happened for millions of years. But what we need to consider is what levels of AMR we have in the environment that are above those background levels. So the final thing I will say is that, as we all know, AMR is very complex. And this is a great example of One Health and how all the disciplines need to work together to come up with solutions for AMR. So the environment is where AMR might end up, but also how AMR in the environment might end up back to humans and animals. So again, AMR is a great One Health example where animals, humans, and the environment need to be taken into account to be able to solve this problem.